welcome to Y11 Audio. I'm Alex Alvarado, and thank you for listening. This is recording from the state of Washington. I'm not doing this in my normal setting, so the audio is going to sound really, really weird. But it's also going to sound really good because, obviously, I spent so much money on this laptop, it better sound great. EMU 1-0. Washington 1-0. Seattle Saturday. If you're making the trip, have fun. I'm sure if you're making the trip, either you have a list of things to do or you have been given a list of just things you could do. Here's some recommendations. I know that I've gotten a crap ton of just things that people just want me to do, and respectfully, I cannot get to it all. I'm not going to tell you exactly where I'm at, but I will tell you this. I'm not in Seattle. I'm in the great state of Washington. I'm looking at a lake. I'm looking at a very, very beautiful lake. Which lake? I'm not going to tell you. I'll give you a hint. It's an hour away. It is an hour away, man. I am not incredibly close to the city, but I am incredibly close to a very, very beautiful view of this lake house that, a person just, that I honestly have no idea. I've never met this person, but connections of connections help make this possible. So thank you, stranger. So obviously it's Thursday. Got some content out over the past few days, especially over the past, since the Q&A with C-Town Sports and I hope I'm saying his name right, Kevin Casabellos. Things been good there. Wrote my preview. Got some power rankings out. I'm going to have some game picks out that'll be coming out, I think tomorrow I'll write them. Tomorrow morning, first thing in the morning. Here's the thing about traveling, and I don't do it very often, but for a trip like this, when you are somebody who lives in the Eastern time zone and you go out to the Pacific, I am with a group of people, and this is the hardest part. I am with a group of people, and we do not agree on what time it is. I am looking at it. My laptop says 10:50 a.m. That's because my laptop is wherever its feet are at. I am wherever I live. Okay, so for me, it is like well into lunch hour. Like, we do not agree on what is going on both ways in terms of like me waking up whenever I did, keeping it as close to like 8 a.m. as possible Eastern, to everybody else. Some of them have been like kind of acclimated. The love of my life says, well, I'm here now, so I'm here, so it is whatever time it is right now. Yeah, my body just cannot handle that, so yeah. Props to everybody else. I can get to it. Let's just focus on the game that's up ahead. Obviously, everybody knows that both sides are 1-0. Everybody knows that Eastern Michigan is Eastern Michigan, and everybody knows that Washington is it a blue blood? Is it a blue blood? It's definitely a very, very important program to the sport, right? It's growing in size. Is it growing in talent? I'm not really sure. It's definitely growing in exposure. It's definitely a West Coast team that's in the Big Ten, so it's grown in that sense. Think of it however you want. It's definitely fun for EMU to be like, hey, we beat some Big Ten teams before, but it's been a minute. Haven't won the last two games. Lost at Wisconsin, lost at Minnesota. Both of them were post-COVID. All of the Big Ten wins that you might remember EMU having happened pre-COVID. Rutgers in 2017, Purdue in 2018, Illinois in 2019. It's been a minute since then, but hey, lucky to get those three in the first place. Even though one of them, Rutgers, being an expansion level Big Ten team. Now we have a new expansion level Big Ten team, and that means way differently. That is like the opposite end of the spectrum, but using the same words when describing Washington and Rutgers. Just super, super fun. Hopefully you listened to whatever I recorded earlier in the week. I don't remember, man. I've had a week. I have had a week, and I'm just happy to be here, happy to relax a little bit. Happy to get this podcast out too. I'm going to try to make this as quick as possible because I don't have all the fancy gadgets to make this sound great. I'm so sorry about that, but I'm here. I'm doing it for you. I know I got one comment looking at my community interest notes, I didn't really look too much into it because like it was one game, and I also like I didn't think it was like all that crazy. But somebody tweeted at me, and I'm sorry that I'm not pulling up your handle. I'm not gonna do all that right now, so sorry. But somebody had asked me, and I will look into this. Somebody had asked me if EMU is running at like a higher tempo of pace of offense than what they might be used to. I didn't think that EMU played faster than what they normally did. I know last year it was slowed down some, but mostly, that's just production. That was last year. Last year's pace had a lot to do with production. So whatever the number of like plays ran, like uh, amount of time between plays, right? Because that's how you can really define tempo. Uh, yeah, I could definitely see how that's a team that like I mean they threw so many incompletions. You know what I mean? Like it's just it wasn't going to be like a fast paced team, but like EMU's always been kind of like we'll hurry up to the run, hurry up to the line when we can. We'll interject some tempo into our game. And it's like there's a lot of teams that are just no huddle to begin with. So, I don't know. To me, just watching the UMass game, I never clicked to see like what the time between snaps were, but I didn't think it was out of the ordinary personally. But if there's an uptick in just how fast they're moving because they're more efficient, I will say like I'll start trying to keep notice of it. I'll start to track it a little bit just because I'm curious too now that it's brought to my attention. And obviously, if it's brought to your attention, bring it to my attention. I do want to put things that you care about into this community interest notes part of the podcast on my Thursdays. So, yeah, just let me know whatever you're thinking in real time on Saturdays, or maybe like you just had a thought during the week because even though the game happened 2-3 days ago, what if there's just like a thought that crossed your mind? Hit me up at Ypsi11. Check out Ypsi11.com. Got a whole bunch of stories from this past week, previews and such, power rankings. That's always cool. I got my game picks coming out tomorrow. Like I said, did a Q&A session with C-Town Sports. That was a lot of fun to do. Check out my page. Check out Kevin's page. You'll read a lot of, my insight of like what he was curious about and vice versa. I think it was a really good conversation. I was really happy to do that. Hopefully there's more Substack writers and performers out there that just want to do this and keep our ecosystem of like writers and all that stuff just like growing and stuff, because that's obviously good for both of us. On my way here on the plane, watched Weber State and Washington. Watched that game finally. Didn't get to watch it during the week or on Saturday really. I'll say I watched 3/4 of it because by then like the score was big enough to where the backups were coming in, and I'm like, okay, I don't think I'm gonna learn too much from this point on. I don't have too many notes, but I do have like a couple of important ones. Number one is number one. Number one, Jonah Coleman, the running back, wearing number one. Man, he's gonna get the ball. He's gonna get the ball time and time again. He's gonna like share it with number 22 as well. But when he gets the ball, he is going to give EMU's defense some fits. I personally don't like saying so-and-so is a Sunday person, this guy's a guy that's going to be on an NFL team one day, because truth be told, I'm really good about saying that and not following up with it, and I'm definitely good about like saying it and then being wrong about it and never realizing it after the fact. Because, I don't know, I can think of like a few MAC players that like me and like other podcast partners have said that about, like Caleb Ellaby. He's the guy that comes to mind, the quarterback for Western Michigan. Then he came out early in school. I'm rambling. Came out early and like never got picked. I don't think he's like doing anything football wise, playing wise. I don't know if he's a coach anywhere. But number one, that's a guy that should be playing on an NFL team. That's a guy that I want on my Lions. That's a guy that I do not want on the Green Bay Packers. That is a really solid football player. Makes yards on his home through contact, finding space, creating space. He's not like a, hard stepper, shifty kind of guy that like, maneuvers people and creates, space and all that stuff with his shiftiness. He is a strong, powerful guy, man. Like, I dare you to try to tackle him, sort of deal. He's going to be really good. he makes, and this goes into kind of my next note. And this is the area of the game that I was like most focused on personally, because Washington's offensive line in 2023, as the national championship runners up, Joe Moore Award winners, which is like a group award given to the whole offensive line for being the best fat boys in the country. They do not have the best fat boys in the country, man. This is not the same Joe Moore Award winning team. And Jedd Fisch can say, hey, we want to keep the level of play the same, the standard the same, blah, 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 blah. We're still Washington. We got all these super professional and high-level coaches, sons of Pete Carroll, son of Bill Belichick. They are leading our offense and defense. Of course, this is going to be a really, really good, just coached team with so many good influences. I mean, Jedd Fisch himself, like he had so many coaches that he worked for, including like Spurrier, who's his biggest idol. This O-line's not very good, man. This O-line, I'm going to say this, they don't have a left tackle. They do not have a left tackle. The one I don't know his name, number 74. I noticed him playing on the left side of the line at left tackle, and then I noticed this one player for Weber State who, and I didn't do 100% of my homework. I didn't get to see, how much heavier is the offensive lineman than the defensive end from Weber State, and what's the size difference between this Big Ten tackle and this Big Sky defensive end? Dude, my eyes told me like this. The lineman had probably 50 to 60 pounds on him. Lost 3 plays in a row to this guy, and just I'm thinking of one drive in the second quarter, but this is like crucial time where hey, you already got your first quarter butterflies out. Let's establish ourselves. Let's get our heads out of our butts. Let's just beat these guys and go home. They beat them and went home, that's for sure. The offensive line didn't do it. Number 1 and number 22, those running backs, they made plays in spite of that offensive line. Yes, they won some snaps, but it wasn't like all 5 guys won all of their reps at the same time, play after play. It was not a force to be reckoned with. And let me backtrack a little bit. When I say number 74 got beat 3 plays in a row, I'm going to tell you how it happened. One, it was the same player that beat him 3 times in a row too. On one play, it was a first down. Came creeping from the second level to the first, just Euro stepped right at the snap, just got right past him untouched, got a huge tackle for loss. Then on the next play, similar deal. It was just a quick jump cut. I think he was like a stand-up 2-point position at the time, but just like a quick jump cut, just got right by him. Didn't make a play in the backfield. I think he got like a finger on the quarterback before he got the ball away or something like that. But still, got beat really bad. And then the next play, from a 3-point stance, just went right at him. Didn't go around him, didn't dance, just went right at number 74. And got on his pads, got his hand on the inside and pushed him up and stood him up and was playing the game that he wanted to. 74, right after that, moved to the right tackle and played there for the rest of his game. I'm sure he got subbed out once third quarter got late, fourth quarter got rolling, number 2s came in. But that Joe Moore Award-winning offense, not the same group. All of those guys that were contributors on that team, they're all gone, man. Everybody in there is new. There's a lot of transfers. Like the returning guys include a guy who was injured all of last year, so he's not really part of that group, even though he was just on and on the sidelines. And then there was a true freshman who played 9 games last year. It's just not the same group, man. It's beatable. I'm just gonna say it. It's beatable, and it's not going to be. This isn't going to be a winning argument in the streets either. You can't really say hey, I think EMU's defensive line is better than Washington's offensive line. I don't know if you're going to win a lot of arguments like that until Saturday comes around, but I will say this. I think they have better run blockers at tight end and maybe even at wide receiver than they do at center guard tackle. I'm going to keep it on offense, and then we're going to switch to defense really quickly for my notes. Um, the quarterback's pretty good, man. Will Rogers, decent quarterback from Mississippi State. Didn't light the world on fire over there, but he's still solid quarterback, years of experience. I think he's going to be okay. I don't think he's going to make the biggest, craziest plays in the world, but I also don't think that the game plan is for him to just have like all the crazy plays dialed up. Like Washington's going to have to conserve their playbook, right? They have a 9-game conference schedule ahead of them. They need to preserve the best parts of their playbook, and that might be if EMU's D-line can get after it and if the coverage is good enough. I don't know, man. I could see some things where you're going to force the quarterback to make as many good plays as possible. And if you can get him to break once, maybe twice, those could end up being good stops. Will those end up being turnovers? To be determined. Defense, 2 things I'm going to say. The defense, obviously, with Steve Belichick, super good, man. It's super good. I don't think they have the greatest talents in the world, and I don't think that the D-line is incapable of being moved or pushed, maybe even shoved a little bit, on the run game from EMU's run offense. Though I don't think EMU is going to force running as like its way of making some money this weekend. I think that EMU is going to have to like pass to run, which I don't know if it would be a bad thing, but they'd have to run at their, opportunistically run. I think that's kind of the phrase I'm going to go with. They have to opportunistically run in Seattle. But the defense, it's solid, and if EMU gets into third and 7 or worse, it's going to be nastiness. It is absolute nastiness what Washington draws up on its third down plays. Its third down plays, just really, really good. If you want to know what they're doing on defense, if you want to know what they're doing on third down, this is my last note for this team. Follow the rabbit. And maybe this is my fault for watching the Matrix, part of the Matrix, on the plane ride over. I took a nap, and I woke up, and I wasn't sure if it was all a dream or if it was all real. I'm still trying to figure that out myself. But what I do know for certain is that you do have to follow the rabbit, and the rabbit's name is number 42. That's a solid linebacker. I don't know what his name is. I just know his number. Number 42, very, very solid linebacker. Definitely is the straw that stirs that defense's drink, man. He is very, very solid. If you're watching on third down and you got the scaries in you in the stands, follow the rabbit. A couple quick keys to the game that are going to be coming up. Got to get to a quick start on offense. Loved what I saw out of EMU's offense against UMass. Of course, there were, some things to work on. Obviously, don't want to have those drops anymore, but kind of to be expected a little bit, just as long as it's not an epidemic out there. Just get to a quick start. I don't know how it's done, but get to a quick start. Does that mean it's scoring? Let me get into my next note. Field position matters, bro. That field position is going to matter. I already told you those third and long calls facing UW's defense is going to be hell. Field position matters. Field position matters. If you can win the field position battle, which is going to be obviously all 3 units working together, but special teams have to be on their A game. Defenses have to win their early downs as well. Field position matters. And beat Washington's O-line. Just beat Washington's O-line. I don't think that they're incapable of making plays out there. I think that it's still, the season's so young. Those were all talented guys before they came to UW. I doubt that a Big Ten team like Washington is going to accept trash linemen in the first place. But, I wouldn't be surprised if it took a while for them to get in rhythm together, do what they needed to do. I just don't know if this is going to be the game where a team like that is going to find its rhythm. I think they'd rather be playing a UMass than an Eastern Michigan to make that happen. So beat the O-line, man. I think that, there's still going to be so much challenge with the secondary going up against Washington's really talented receivers, and then having to just tackle number one is going to be a problem in itself. But if EMU can comfortably push 4, push 5, and find a little bit of pressure here and there, maybe not all 4 and 5 of them are beating the guys in front of them, but maybe one of them's getting around. Maybe one of them's getting another lineman on their butt. Dude, I've seen linemen make plays for this Washington offense. Number one could have a big game, but one or two of the linemen's either on their tummy because they fell forward, or they got pushed back and they fell on their ass. Dude, I personally, someone who doesn't have to suit up or lift weights and fight these guys, I'm not scared of them. I don't think that EMU's going to have the worst luck on defense at the point of attack. I just don't think so. I just think it's going to be a better fight than a lot of people will give them credit for. So, as long as the secondary can live up to its abilities, I think that EMU's defensive line is it's going to be pivotal, man. Just their play against Washington's O-line, and this is going to be true of every EMU versus whoever game, especially at such a big level like Washington, looking for an upset. But man, if you can upset them in the trenches, I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyways, thank you for listening to this edition of Ypsi 11. I know it's kind of rough to listen to a little bit because this audio is just being recorded on a built-in microphone. But I appreciate your attendance here nonetheless. And speaking of attendance, I have some friends outside that want me to throw a frisbee with them, so I'm gonna go do that.